What if Deontay Wilder had accepted the Dazn $100 million offer? Hypotheticals, but what would have actually happened if he took that offer and didn't go on to fight Luis Ortiz and go on to fight Tyson Fury and end up getting beat? What if he actually went on to fight Dominic Breazeale and Anthony Joshua twice? What would have happened? Would it have been a better route for Deontay Wilder? Would Deontay Wilder be the current undisputed heavyweight champion right now if he went that route? Let's jump into it. Deontay Wilder, a lot of people have been saying this, you know, pundits questioning why Deontay Wilder didn't take the $100 million offer. There have been things floating around left, right and center. Some people are talking about he won't be able to, you know, have his own promotional outfit in terms of Bomb Squad Promotions as part of the deal. I don't know if this is true. Some other people are saying that he should have taken the offer because, you know, he's gonna fight for the highest careers payday. At the same time, he's probably going to be taking on an easier opponent, Anthony Joshua, compared to Tyson Fury. Other people are saying that he shouldn't sell out to the zone for money, talking about Deontay Wilder doesn't care about the money, different things flying left, right and center from fanboys from each side, from Eddie Hearn's camp, from Deontay Wilder's camp. Deontay Wilder saying he wanted to be loyal to Showtime after Showtime showed him disloyalty, and then he had to fight Luis Ortiz on Fox. You know, strange things was going on in Deontay Wilder's camp, because ideally, like the layman on the street, who's not going to take $100 million offer when they have never gone anywhere near those kind of numbers? Who wouldn't take $100 million offer? Obviously, we don't know what is the stipulations on the contract for the DAZN offer. We don't know if, you know, Deontay Wilder's promised things from Al Heyman, from Fox or whatever. We don't know what he would be allowed to do in terms of the Bomb Squad Promotions and all this, that and the other. You know, we don't know, you know, how much, you know, Anthony Joshua was going to be getting for the, you know, the fights. Because unless they've got information that AJ is getting maybe double what they're getting, or I don't know, maybe they're thinking they're still getting undercut again, even though it's the highest payday. I don't know. Deontay Wilder's team will probably have a reason. Will probably have an explanation for this. Wasn't it Lou DiBella, you know, that is no longer part of Wilder's team, that tried to, you know, was talking to the zone to get this deal, you know, this deal set up for Deontay Wilder to have a look, and all of a sudden he's no longer in his team. Deontay Wilder's handlers not looking for Deontay Wilder to go onto the zone. Deontay Wilder, as I said, wanted to show loyalty to Showtime, who showed him disloyalty by not wanting to show his did they not show his Dominic Breazeale and Ortiz, or what? I can't even remember now, because I know they definitely didn't show the Luis Ortiz on Showtime. You know, I don't know if they showed the Dominic. I don't think they showed the Dominic Breazeale or the Luis Ortiz rematch on Showtime, so they showed him disloyalty there. No, it's difficult to understand why Deontay Wilder wouldn't take this $100 million offer. But let's jump into what would have happened if he did accept the offer. If Deontay Wilder had accepted the $100 million DAZN offer, first of all, as part of the deal, it was a 3-fight deal where he would fight Dominic. He would have fought Dominic Breazeale, and he would have fought Anthony Joshua twice. So, you know, let's just focus on what would have happened if he had taken this offer. If Deontay Wilder had taken this offer and live on DAZN had knocked out Dominic Breazeale in one round, devastating fashion, like the way he did on DAZN after signing an offer like that, do you understand the magnitude, of the AJ Deontay Wilder build-up after a devastating knockout like that? Do you understand what would have happened? That would have been the biggest. That would have been the biggest pretext knockout to one of the biggest fights in the history of heavyweight boxing, if Deontay Wilder had gone ahead with this $100 million deal and his first fight on the zone knocked out Dominic Breazeale in the way he did. Second of all, apart from the fight being the biggest fight in heavyweight boxing, could be potentially, arguably ever, potentially, did Deontay Wilder have a better chance of beating Anthony Joshua than beating Tyson Fury? Now, stylistically, I believe Deontay Wilder has a much better chance of landing his devastating right hand on AJ than on Tyson Fury. Anthony Joshua hasn't got the reflexes that Tyson Fury's got, hasn't got the size Tyson Fury's got, hasn't got the weight Tyson Fury's got, hasn't got the reach Tyson Fury's got, hasn't got the height Tyson Fury's got, hasn't got the footwork Tyson Fury's got. What AJ does have, he's got good stability, power in both hands, he's got the uppercut, he's got, you know, different tools in his arsenal, but he hasn't got the tools in abundance to cause Deontay Wilder problems in terms of Wilder being able to land his right hand, compared as a result of, you know, the skills that Tyson Fury is able to display, footwork, slipping shots. AJ, the right hands that Deontay Wilder threw, that Tyson Fury was slipping and avoiding in the first fight and the second fight, I don't think AJ is going to be able to avoid those. AJ's best shot against Deontay has been able to find a counter, taking the fight to him and finding a counter, maybe a counter left hook over Deontay Wilder's, when Deontay Wilder throwing that right hand. You know, trying to counter Deontay Wilder, find those uppercuts to cause him deadly serious problems. But in terms of AJ versus Wilder, no, Wilder versus AJ and Wilder versus Tyson Fury, I feel like Deontay Wilder had a better chance of beating Anthony Joshua than beating Tyson Fury stylistically, from my point of view. So if he had taken the career high money, knocked out Brazil in devastating fashion, his stock is rising, goes in there, not guarantee he's going to beat AJ, but he's got a better chance of beating AJ than Tyson Fury stylistically. He goes in there, he irons out AJ, goes into the rematch against Anthony Joshua. You know, obviously AJ could come back and beat him, but if he beats him again, he's the undisputed heavyweight champion of the world. You know, he becomes undisputed heavyweight champion of the world. Then he could set up a fight against Tyson Fury, against the guy that's calling himself the lineal champion, blah blah blah. He can go in there to beat Tyson Fury. Obviously he hasn't beaten Tyson Fury now, but at least he has the opportunity to make himself the totally undisputed, because if you don't beat Tyson Fury gonna be running his mouth talking about I'm lineal. You still gotta beat Tyson Fury. If you'd beaten Brazil, beaten AJ twice, went on to set up a massive Vegas fight against Tyson Fury, that could have been another big massive fight for Deontay Wilder. He would have got the Dazn money, the deal would have been over, fight Tyson Fury, you know, maybe potentially on Fox, on ESPN, and Deontay Wilder's stock would have been so high, notoriety. He would have been one of the big. Listen, this guy would have been big in the United States if he had taken that Dazn route, in my opinion. Undisputed, unified heavyweight champion in the United States, knocking out the British darling in Anthony Joshua in devastating fashion, live on DAZN for Americans to see. Deontay Wilder missed the trick here. I feel like, I don't know what was in the contract, you know, because maybe there's something there that we don't see, you know, because obviously here it shows the splits of how the money would have been divided. It says that Wilder would have got 20 million to fight Dominic Brazil for May 2019. He would have got 40 million to fight Anthony Joshua in the autumn, and he would have got 40 million for an immediate rematch with Anthony Joshua in 2020. You know, so it's a difficult. If you do look at the splits here, you know, it looks similar to what Dylan White was actually saying. Dylan was alluding to, you know, beating Anthony Joshua and then for some reason not being offered the lion's share of the rematch, you know, the purse. And here you can see 20 million to fight Dominic Brazil. I don't know what Wilder got for fighting Brazil on Fox, but I think he got not too far from that. 40 million to fight AJ, and immediate rematch with Joshua, he gets another 40 million. So, you know, if he beat Anthony Joshua, yeah, why would he get to defend Deontay? Yeah, why would he still have to get 40 million after he knocked out the champ? You know, maybe this is what Deontay Wilder's not really, you know, not really liking here. Because why should Deontay Wilder, you know, knock Anthony Joshua? Okay, the 40 million, you can argue he should get, you know, 40 million, you know, reasonable. But if he knocked out Anthony Joshua, why shouldn't he get? He should be getting more money. Why is he getting just $40 million after he's knocked out the champ? Immediate rematch, which Joshua would have triggered, Wilder would still get 40 million as he did in the first fight. He should be getting more paper. You shouldn't be getting just 40 million from the first fight, 40 million the second fight. You should be getting more money. And we don't know what AJ would be getting. We don't know what AJ would get. Is AJ gonna get 60 million or something for the first fight? Then for the rematch, AJ is still getting 60 million. You know, for example, is AJ getting more money for the first fight and more money for the rematch than Deontay Wilder, irregardless of whether Deontay Wilder knocked Anthony Joshua out or not? Because if Deontay Wilder knocked out Joshua, and in the contract is stipulated that Joshua for some reason or the other was still getting more money than Deontay Wilder, that's a farce and a half. So maybe there's some things that Wilder's team has looked behind the scenes and they're figuring out that, you know, they don't think this is fair, that we go in there, the biggest fight of their career, and Joshua's still getting more money than them. Even if Wilder's to knock him out in devastating fashion, the rematch, Joshua still gets more money. Absolute nonsense. That's probably what Deontay Wilder's team is thinking. Some people are saying he should have took the offer because it's the highest career payday. I agree, it is Deontay Wilder's highest career payday, you know, but maybe I think Deontay Wilder's team was looking at the long haul, thinking that, you know, we'd rather, you know, maybe go on and fight Tyson Fury, get more leverage to get more money in an undisputed fight than jumping into the undisputed straight away and then allowing Anthony Joshua, you know, to take the lion's share of the money. Because if Deontay Wilder had gone on to knock out Tyson Fury, listen, he would warrant a 50-50 split with Anthony Joshua on whatever the total pot is for the fight. So, but here talking about giving Wilder 40 million for the rematch and 40 million for the 40 million for the initial fight with Joshua and 40 million for the rematch, I believe Joshua will be getting more money than that. Why should Joshua, if he lost, get potentially more money than Deontay Wilder if he beat him? Because Dylan White was saying this, that in a part of the offer was offered from Hearn to fight Joshua was still getting the lion's share of the money in the rematch. Why is Joshua still getting the lion's share of the money in rematches? Doesn't really make any sense. So obviously, what people could say one thing or the other. Should Deontay Wilder have taken the money? If Deontay Wilder did take the money, in my opinion, obviously, you know, he could have taken 100 million. He probably would still made a lot of money afterwards, fighting Tyson Fury and fighting other fights as well. But on the other side as well, in terms of Deontay Wilder, he probably thinks that he could get more money if he fights Tyson Fury, his stock will go up. Then he could come back to the table and get a 50-50 split with AJ. Because look at Tyson Fury now. Tyson Fury's probably going to get a 50-50 split with AJ. He's beating Deontay Wilder. What Tyson Fury is doing now, getting 50-50 with AJ, I think that is what Deontay Wilder wanted to achieve in beating Tyson Fury. A similar kind of thing. But hypotheticals, you know, we can always look back and say this is what should have happened, that could have happened. But Deontay Wilder, obviously, he didn't fight AJ and he lost to Tyson Fury. He's going to have to take on Tyson Fury in the trilogy in December. Can Deontay Wilder beat Tyson Fury? Can he come back resurgent and drop the Gypsy King and knock him out in devastating fashion? Only God knows if Deontay Wilder can come back and do it and redeem himself. Because if he does come back and beat Tyson Fury, you know, first of all, that would be a good comeback from him. And second of all, he's going to have his 50-50 split against AJ. So we can always say this could have happened, that could have happened, but we can only look at what is going on in the present. So let's see what happens. Drop your comments in the comment section below. What would happen if Wilder had accepted the $100 million offer from Dazn? What do you guys think? Like, subscribe, you know, subscribe to my channel. Let's support the KBV boxing. Let's take this channel to the next level, guys. Let's do this. Drop your comments again. Cool.